Prabhupada. Um, all around the world, devotees are celebrating this day as Vyas Puja. The representative of Srila Vyasadeva is worship. Here in Juhu this morning, we had glorification of Srila Prabhupada. Very nice. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami, because he puts out a book called Srila Prabhupada's Tributes. And as you know, the Vyas Puja book, which is here, it's not so bit voluminous. So there's a lot of devotees that, you know, are disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but didn't get to have an offering for this book. So Jayadvaita Swami, his idea was that he would make another book, and he calls that Srila Prabhupada's Tributes. Here it is. And you can see it's got a lot of offerings. And these are all direct Prabhupada disciples that have made an offering to Srila Prabhupada. Now this book is online, and I'll keep the link with Radha Bab Gaur Prabhu, and you can all go there and check out the various offerings. But there's some offerings in it that, I don't want to read a whole offering, but there's some segments of some devotees offerings that I read that I'd like to share with you. Is that okay? Right, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, because all are muted, so.
Yeah, okay. First of all, let me share an offering that Girat Swami made. I'm not reading the whole thing. It's actually kind of long, but I'm reading a section. So Girat Swami says, so how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than you? Your divine grace had so many wonderful qualities, but your most significant quality for us especially was your extreme mercifulness. You had a good friend in Bombay named Bhogilal Patel, who was extremely pious. The first devotee to meet him was Gargamuni. And when Gargamuni was explaining your work, Bhogilal wept profuse tears of appreciation. So you could just imagine, just by hearing about the activities of Srila Prabhupada, Bhogilal Patel broke down in tears. One day, some years later, Bhogilal Patel came to meet you in your flat at the back of Hare Krishna. I had a close relationship with Bhogilal, so I brought him up to meet you. The two of you were talking, and as is natural in a conversation, when you were speaking, I would look at you, and when Bhogilal was speaking, I would look at him. But at one point, while Bhogilal was speaking, I looked at you, which you were not expecting. And I saw that you were looking at me with such love and affection like a father or a grandfather. I was surprised that you were looking at me with so much love, that as soon as you saw me looking at you, you changed your expression and became very grave and serious. I think it was some special mercy that I got a glimpse of how much love you had for us, which you didn't usually show very openly. Your love for us was manifest in your care for us, and you're giving us the knowledge of Krishna consciousness and engaging us in Krishna service. You were very reserved about touching people, including even disciples. In 1971 in Gorakhpur, as guests of Hanuman Prasad Podar of Gita Press, we were staying in his large estate, Shri Krishna Niketan, which had previously been his personal residence. You were traveling with your small Radha Krishna deities, and you wanted to establish an altar. Then, an altar for them in Sri Krishna Niketan. You wanted some foliage for the altar, so you sent me and a few other devotees to collect some. I went out to a thicket and was collecting branches and leaves. I wasn't tearing them live from the tree. I was looking for branches and leaves that had fallen. I just kept going deeper into the woods and collecting more and more foliage. And eventually, I had a huge bundle, as much as I could possibly carry. So I lugged the bundle back to Sri Krishna Niketan and up the stairs. And when I reached the temple room, you were there, and the altar was being set up. I just dropped the bundle on the floor and offered my obeisances. And while I was on the floor, you patted me on the back. It was one of the only times, maybe the only time, that you physically touched me. I looked up and saw you smiling broadly. I didn't know if you even needed any more foliage, but you were pleased by my effort. Again, I asked, Srila Prabhupada, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than you? Thank you for your ongoing causeless mercy, which, like Nityananda Prabhu's, has no limit. I pray to serve your merciful lotus feet eternally, and in doing so, to share your sublime mercy with others. Hare Krishna, your eternal servant, Girat Swami. So, Bhogilal Patel and the story about Girat Swami, seeing the mercy, seeing the love that Srila Prabhupada had for all of his devotees, and also his mercifulness. These are the prime characteristics of Srila Prabhupada. Very, very merciful. He left Vrindavan. He had a nice room there in Radha Damodar Mandir. Maybe some of you had the opportunity to visit there. He had 2 rooms actually, and a veranda. And he paid only 5 rupees a month for those rooms. Part of the deal of his having those rooms in Radha Damodar was every day he also got a full plate of Radha Damodar's Mahaprasad. So what more would he need? Srila Prabhupada said in Vrindavan, I had no difficulty. I was very happy in Vrindavan. But he left. He left and he came to America. Such a cold place. And people that were steeped in the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion. In Vrindavan, everyone is thinking about Krishna. Even if you're an atheist, you can't help but think about Krishna in Vrindavan. But when he got to America, he realized this place, very demonic. But still, he went there on the order of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to give the message, to help people, to give mercy. That was Srila Prabhupada's mission. That actually is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, he told the Kurma Brahmana, Jare Dheka, Vare Kaha, Krishna Upadesh. Whoever you meet, wherever you go, tell them about Krishna. Give them a message about Krishna. So that's what Srila Prabhupada was doing. And it wasn't easy in any way, shape, or form. In those days, after independence, there was the new democratic government of India, Republic of India. And everything was very bureaucratic. They called it the license Raj and the permit Raj. because it was so difficult to get things done. Srila Prabhupada, when Srimarti Maharaj had agreed to give him passage on one of her steamships to America, still he had to get a passport. And in order to get a passport, he had to have a P form. And in order to get the P form, it took months and months and a lot of going here and there. So much trouble he took at an advanced age, almost 70 years old, to go to America. Why? There was no need except to show mercy. And that is what some of the devotees' offerings, I can see from Giriraj Swami offering, it's all about mercy. I want to read some other offerings too, some of the devotees. This offering is from one second. A devotee named Parthasarthi Goswami Maharaj from South Africa. And again, I'm just reading a portion of his offering. You know, he met some devotees out on Sankirtan, who were out on Sankirtan. And the devotees invited him to a town hall program. And so he explains how he met the devotees. And the first devotee he met was Prabhu Vishnu. Insisting that I take the invitation and give a donation, I found myself instantly bankrupt. I didn't have much money, but whatever I did have disappeared into Prabhu Vishnu Maharaj's hand. Thoughts raced through my mind. Yes, let me go. I will see what it is like. I thought of inviting my brother, who was just 2 years younger than I. Then I reconsidered. He's not so interested in spiritual life, higher thoughts, meditation, yoga. After all, spiritual life is an individual, personal, and quiet affair, not to be shared by anyone. At least that is what I thought at the time. I took the invitation and walked to my house, which was 20 minutes away from Oxford City Center. Putting on my best pair of dirty Levi jeans, smelly socks, motorcycle racing boots, and my favorite leather jacket, I took my mother's bicycle and rode to the town hall. Carefully locking the bicycle outside the town hall, I walked in and met Janananda Prabhu. His smile was amazing, an effulgent stretch from one side of his face to the other. He seated me in a room with about 20 other various assortments of the variegated human races, species of life. His Holiness Revati Nandan Swami spoke in a very deliberate and extremely powerful and dynamic way about something to do with birth, death, and different species of life. I did not understand anything, except I was convinced that he knew what he was talking about, although I had no idea what he was talking about, if you know what I mean. Thus, nothing really clicked. Then the audience stood up with the devotee and they had a kirtan. I remember Mahavishnu, Prabhu Vishnu, Janananda, and Revati Nandan leading the kirtan. As soon as I heard the holy name, tears started falling from my eyes. I really didn't know what was happening. I felt my hair standing on end and profuse tears flowing from my eyes. Then the penny dropped. This is Kripa Siddhi. Now, 48 years later, I'm still surviving and being nourished by this Kripa Siddhi, which is coming from our Guru Parampara, your divine grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Thank you for directing this Kripa city on me. I pray that I can assist my God brothers, God sisters, and your grand disciple who give this Kripa city to the conditioned souls in Kali Yuga. Somehow, I've been situated in South Africa for the last 47 years and trying my best to preach to the various communities. You are the embodiment of Kripa City, and by your Kripa City, I can eventually understand Sri Vrindavan Dham and awaken my eternal relationship or Sthai Bhav with Radha and Krishna. Bowing down at the lotus feet of my God brothers and God sisters and all their disciples, I pray that I can eternally remain in their association and realize my good fortune of having your Kripa City. Your servant, Parthasarthi Das Goswami. So again, you see in this offering, and in many of the offerings that are here in this book, and there's quite a few, mercifulness, kripa, obtaining Krishna consciousness by the Kripa Siddhi method, by the special mercy of Srila Prabhupada. This is a common thread in many of these offerings. So we can understand that how Srila Prabhupada gave his mercy, but he's still continuing to give his mercy. And the next offering that I want to read exemplifies that very nicely, explains it very nicely. It's not like the mercy was available and now it's not available. No, not like that at all. This is an offering by Shivaram Swami. Shivaram Swami originally joined in Canada, in Ottawa, and then later on he came to the United States, and from there he was preaching in England, and now he has started a community in Hungary. So Shivaram Swami explains very nicely. Thus, by your words, presence, and blessings, you guaranteed a mercy by which your direct disciples could rise to the stage of Bhava. That was Lord Chaitanya's mission, and that is ISKCON's quote-unquote main business. Now you are no longer physically present, but your ISKCON remains, as does its empowerment to give love. And so the same combination of sadhana and kripa assures all serious devotees that they too can attain bhav bhakti in this life. Then, with the blessings of bhava, they can take birth on the planet in the material world where Krishna is enacting his pastimes. And there can gain qualifications to return to the spiritual world, Goloka and Dham. What if for some reason worthy devotees in ISKCON cannot find the association of living gurus and Vaishnavas to bless them with love? Then your mercy and instructions are there for all succeeding generations of followers not initiated by you. They too can attain the same result. That was your promise. Chant 16 rounds and follow the regulative principles. Thus, ISKCON assures that devotees will be able to attain ecstatic love from a qualified spiritual master, or alternatively, through your blessings, books, and eternal presence. Thus, ISKCON assures that devotees will be able to obtain ecstatic love from a qualified spiritual master, or alternatively, through your blessings, books, and eternal presence. Dear Srila Prabhupada, thank you for blessing us with the desire tree of ISKCON, a kalpavriksha that yields fruits too numerous to name, and from which the juicy fruit of loving devotion falling from its branches of mercy reigns supreme. Your servant, Shivaram Swami. So, very nice book, lots of offerings, lots of nectar there. It's online. I'll leave you with the link. But again, we see the common thread, mercy, and how to get the mercy, and how to progress in the process of bhakti yoga. One can chant, one can read all the books, but to actually get to the platform of having pure love for Krishna, it requires mercy. It requires mercy of Krishna, but no one ever got the mercy of Krishna without having the mercy of Krishna's devotees. Srila Prabhupada specifically founded ISKCON so that people would have an opportunity to associate, to hear about Krishna. We just celebrated Sri Krishna Janmashtami, Krishna appearance in this world. For our benefit, Krishna comes down and performs all of his pastimes so that people will be able to discuss and hear about his various activities. Krishna performed so many wonderful pastimes, so many leelas. He played with the cowherd boys. He tended the cows. He lifted Govardhan Hill. He lifted Govardhan Hill to cut the pride of Indra. Krishna doesn't like his devotees to be very proud. Indra had not recognized Krishna because he came in the form of a small boy. And he was thinking, who is this boy stopping my yajna? But Krishna specifically did that and protected all the inhabitants of Vrindavan from Indra's anger just to cut his pride. And killing of all the various demons, Agasur, Bakasur, Utana, just so that his devotees can talk about his wonderful activities and in that way become purified. As Shivaram Swami mentioned, that the way Krishna purifies his devotees is when they attain the stage of bhava, in the next life they can take birth with Krishna, wherever he's performing his Bhuma-lila, his pastimes in this world, in some universe. And as soon as they come out from the womb of a gopi, then they come in contact with Krishna and they become completely pure. And when Krishna winds up his pastimes and goes back to Goloka, they go with him. So all of these wonderful things, relationships, activities with Krishna are there available by the mercy of his devotees. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. All of ISKCON is running on the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. By his desire, the Krishna consciousness movement spread all over the world and is continuing to spread all over the world. People in far off corners of the world are able to take advantage of his association through his books. And recently we have initiated the Gram Vidya program, where transcendental knowledge is being distributed in the villages. In India, many books have been distributed in the cities and in the towns, but not so much in the village. So I know that some of you all came forward to support that program, and we thank you very much. And the books are being established in public places in these different villages so that people can, from the village, can go there and read that, read those books of Srila Prabhupada, so that they can initiate and start their spiritual life. Prabhupada said, in the village, people already live simple. They already have simple living. They just need high thinking. And that high thinking is transcendental literature. So that program is going on. Also, one interesting thing that happened recently is that the place where Srila Prabhupada took his birth in Calcutta was acquired. And there's a jackfruit tree that Srila Prabhupada was born on. The devotees were able to acquire that land, and they're making a memorial there at the site where Srila Prabhupada was born, the birth site of Srila Prabhupada. So that was a memorial will come up there for everybody to remember and visit and become purified by visiting that place where Srila Prabhupada was born. So these are some of the things that we need to keep in mind on this very special day of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, the Vyas Puja, is to understand that Srila Prabhupada is extremely merciful. So if we chant our rounds nicely and we follow the regulated principles, we can expect to get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. We can't demand, just as Krishna is independent, his pure devotees are also independent, but we can aspire. We can try, as much enthusiasm we have to obtain that mercy, that's how much we will actually obtain. It's Asha Bandha, trying, being enthusiastic to get the mercy of Krishna. And we have enthusiasm for so many things in this material world. But that enthusiasm, even if we obtain the things that we want, is short-lived. All of the things that we put together and construct in this material world, they're over at the end of this life. And it won't last forever. But the work and the effort, the whatever we put into devotional service, that's never lost. That goes with us, life after life. And there's a great opportunity. Srila Prabhupada has given us the holy. If Srila Prabhupada hadn't left Vrindavan, taking the trouble to go to America, none of us would be chanting the holy name of Krishna. How many of us would have been able to know about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his pastimes? Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very interested to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. But way back then, it was hard to even find an edition of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He had to search for a long time to find the complete Chaitanya Charitamrita. But now we see, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, it's not only available, but it's available in so many languages all over the world. People can get an opportunity to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Srila Prabhupada came to America, he brought with him of course, he had his trunks of books. The first canto was Srimad Bhagavatam in 3 parts. But not only that, he also brought, for his own personal reading, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That was the book that he brought with him. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the last years of his life, the only book that he was reading was Chaitanya Charitamrita, because it's filled with the nectar from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's extremely merciful mood of distributing Krishna consciousness. And that's the mood of the devotees. That's why they're attracted to reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. The more we are absorbed in the mood of trying to help others, the more we're in the mood of, or will be qualified to receive the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this day is a very special day that we can all think of Srila Prabhupada think of his instructions. When Arjuna was completely despondent at one point after Krishna left the planet, and he was returning back to Hastinapur, feeling very bad, but he had the queens of Dwarka with him. And when he was taking them back to Hastinapur, he was attacked by some cowherd men, and they ran off with the queens. Of course, we understand from the acharyas that those cowherd men were actually expansions of Krishna. But Arjuna was thinking, I defeated so many warriors in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and I defeated Indra in heaven, but yet I was defeated by these cowherds because he didn't have the association of his friend Lord Krishna, and he was feeling very depressed. We all feel that sometimes, depression, some loneliness. But Arjuna said that as I remembered his instruction that he gave me in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, I returned my consciousness. I understood by that association, because Krishna and Krishna's words are non-different. His instruction, when Srila Prabhupada spoke, even if it was Bhagavatam class, mostly he was preaching from Bhagavad Gita. Because unless we understand how Krishna is wonderful, how can we surrender to him? How will we be able to think about it? So Srila Prabhupada always spoke about Bhagavad Gita, spoke from Bhagavad Gita, so that we could establish our relationship with Krishna. Sambandha Gyan, it's called Sambandha Gyan. The spiritual master gives Sambandha Gyan. And Srila Prabhupada did that so wonderfully, so beautifully. Like, tirelessly was preaching Krishna consciousness. Thousands of lectures, and mostly on Bhagavad Gita, just to establish Krishna within the heart of the people, the heart of his disciples, the heart of his followers. He did that. That was his intention. And by his desire, Krishna from within the heart illuminates Srila Prabhupada's followers to become Krishna conscious, or to strive for Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is already there within the heart. It's not an extraneous thing that has to come to us. It's there. It just needs to be awakened. It needs to be uncovered. It's covered over. That desire to love Krishna is there, but unfortunately we have so many other desires that are mixed in the heart. And simply by trying, simply by making the effort, chanting 16 rounds, following the principles, following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, that love that's there, hiding, covered over in our heart, becomes uncovered, becomes awakened. And that is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement, as Shivaram Swami said, is to awaken people to their natural, original consciousness of loving Krishna. So this is a very wonderful day to pray to Srila Prabhupada, to become his follower. From this day on, Srila Prabhupada, I'm yours. If we have that consciousness, I belong to Prabhupada, he'll take responsibility for us. It's a reciprocal thing. When Brahmananda was going to get initiated, Srila Prabhupada asked his brother if he wanted to get initiated too. And he said, no, I'm not ready, I'll wait. So Brahmananda, there was a fire sacrifice, Prabhupada was doing the fire sacrifice. And Gargamuni noticed that his mother had also come. So after the initiation, Srila Prabhupada told Brahmananda, go touch your mother's feet. So Brahmananda went and touched his mother's feet. And she was very happy. Then Srila Prabhupada told Brahmananda's mother, you know, this movement is meant to save humanity. And we're preaching, we want to spread this movement all over the world. Can you give a donation to help? And she said, well, I've given you both my sons, and now you want money too? So Gargamuni realized, and Srila Prabhupada told her, that's okay, that's all right, very nice. And Gargamuni realized that Srila Prabhupada asked her for that donation just so that she would establish the fact that she had given her sons to Srila Prabhupada. And from that day on, Ramananda and Gargamuni, their mentality was that we were given to Srila Prabhupada. We belong to Srila Prabhupada. So we have that mentality that we belong, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vaishnav Kukur, the dog of the Vaishnav, right? The master can do what he wants, tells the dog what to do this, do that. The dog doesn't. That should be our mentality. We get an instruction and we do it. And in that way, Krishna will become pleased. We'll be able to have an opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, which is the ultimate goal of this life. And so I want to thank everybody for listening, and also encourage everyone to read the Srila Prabhupada tributes books. It's online, and try to absorb yourself as much as possible in understanding Srila Prabhupada as a person, and the qualities, so many qualities that Srila Prabhupada manifested to all the devotees in love and care. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Bhima Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class and so many points that you gave us to realize. We are very much obliged, and though I know you gave us initially 15 minutes, you have been very kind to give us half an hour more. And my humble request is that one of those days, whenever you are free for a Friday, you would like to have your class for Bhagavatam. I'm requesting in advance because I know it's always a very busy schedule to get you, but please keep us in your mind. For all of us in Shambhaji loves your class, and we like to do seva to Srila Prabhupada for serving you. So thank you again, and a big Hare Krishna mantra for you and Mataji's good health. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just to add to the devotees that my timings in Juhu, whenever I used to go, I always remember Prabhuji used to be taught at 4 early in the morning, to make sure that all of us would be there for Mangalati, and I learned to be punctual because of Prabhuji, which is roasters. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Thank you. Rajan?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So you
Yes,
can continue now with the next session.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So since Prabhuji took us down the memory line, why don't we continue with the memories from a few Guru Maharaj and a few other Maharajas, please?
Yeah, please go ahead.
And then we can go on to the Prabhupada video.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So the first video which we'll be watching is Memory of Srila Prabhupada by Tamal Krishna Goswami. It's a 4 to 5 minutes video in which he shares his memory of Srila Prabhupada. A wonderful small snippet of Srila Prabhupada offered by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami. The second video will be by His Holiness Radhanath Swami. It's also a 4 to 5 minute video. A nice snippet again from His Holiness Radhanath Swamiji. And the third one will be from His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, in where he shares in detail his memories of Srila Prabhupada. So first we'll begin with His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami.
Ajahn Prabhu, you have to take out your earphones and make the mic system loud through your mic. आपको सुनाई दे रहा है लेकिन हमको नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है.
Okay, Prabhuji. Sorry about that. I'll do
You
that.
take out the earphone and let the computer mic be on.
Prabhuji, how audible is it?
No, you are audible, but not. We can't hear the video.
The video is not at all audible.
आपको माइक्रोफोन आपका ये निकाल दीजिए, आपका ईयरफोन निकालिए, हटाइए ईयरफोन का अनलॉक कीजिए, सिस्टम का माइक, देन सिस्टम के माइक तो हमको सुनाई देगा.
Oh, you want to share it through the system mic? Okay.
No, you remove your earphones from the system. System में से वो unplug कीजिए earphone.
Oh, Prabhuji, then I have to switch over to the other computer, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you give me 5 minutes in that case?
Okay, fine.
With the
Sachi,
kid, with the small kid there, Prabhuji?
Are the kids there still?
नहीं तो वीडियो लिंक भेजिए, इधर से मैं ऑन करता हूँ.
Just 5 minutes, Prabhuji. I'm already there on the system. Just give me 5
okay,
minutes.
fine.
Okay, Sachi Madhi, are the kids still available or they're already left?
I will check, Prabhuji.
Okay. In
Because
case
I told only 5. I had told only half now because
And-
tomorrow they all have school. So
okay, no issue. In case they are there, it's fine. Otherwise, it's okay.
Let
Otherwise,
me-
you can do Narsimha prayer at least for everybody.
okay. You want me to write away, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead till the Prabhu gets set. Why waste time?
Okay. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadadayine. Praladadadayine. Hiranyakashipurvakshah. Hiranyakashipurvakshah. Shilatankanakalaye. Shilatankanakalaye. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yeto yeto yami tato Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Narasimha Madhim Sharanam Prapadye. Narasimha Madhim Sharanam Prapadye. Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज। सर्व विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। भक्तराज प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। दाई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhuri. Wonderful Kirtan. Is Rajan Prabhu ready?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm ready. Thank you very much. Sorry for the disturbance.
No, go ahead.
So we'll start. We'll continue the video again.
Yes, please.
Had a devotee there who was a Sikh by birth. He joined us, and Hiraj Swami and myself, this devotee, his name was Chaitya Guru at the time, Chaitya Guru. So he was driving us around, and we would be going, making members and collecting money to build the Vrindavan temple in Bombay. So after a while, this devotee somehow got it in his mind that he should go off on his own and leave and make his own way spiritually in life. And he took up living on Juhu Beach with one bogi yogi with the intention of learning the art of passing a coin from one ear out the other ear. So before he had done this, he was already canvassing from our members, collecting on his own. So I had approached Prabhupada, the Srila Prabhupada, this person, we have to write something to our members to warn them about this person. So Prabhupada was a little hesitant to do that. Then finally, but he was not ready to give up on this devotee. But when this devotee finally started to live with that bogi yogi, I said, Prabhupada, now it's reached the limit. So this person is on the beach, living with a bogus yogi, trying to learn how to pass the coin from one ear out the other. So I said that now, it's the end, it's finished. And Prabhupada looked at me and he said, you do not know about Lord Nityananda's mercy. I said, why, Srila Prabhupada? He said, because there is no end to Lord Nityananda's forgiveness. And later on, sure enough, that devotee came back. And again, Prabhupada tried to help him. He gave this person sannyas even. And the person eventually left. But I met him maybe a year ago, and he's still on some spiritual path, some type. But Prabhupada was so clear, looked at me, and he said, there's no limit to Lord Nityananda's mercy, compassion. So Srila Prabhupada is the manifest representative of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And his forgiveness is like that. So I think that in terms of both are dealing with our own shortcomings and in terms of dealing with each other, we have to always remember that Prabhupada never rejected a devotee. There's very, very, very few instances in the history where Prabhupada, did so. It was very, 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 very rare.
Hare Krishna. So the next video which we'll be seeing is one from His Holiness Radhanath Mahaswami, where he is sharing his experience and memory of Srila Prabhupada.
After I went to the Himalayas and I took on the life of a sadhu, wearing sadhu robes. I had a little begging pot, and I was traveling through the jungles and the mountains of the Himalayas and meeting many great rishis, yogis, sages, living at their ashrams, learning from them. I was also living sometimes in caves with yogis in the jungles. Sometimes I was living in caves in seclusion myself, just practicing various meditations. I lived at Buddhist monasteries, studying Buddhism under Rinpoches and Lamas. And in this way, I was traveling around India, looking for God realization. Each place, everyone wanted to initiate me because to have a foreign disciple was very prestigious for yogis, gurus, lamas, rinpoches, and all of these and other spiritual personalities. But I had felt in my heart that until I find a guru who I am convinced I will never leave for my whole life, I cannot accept initiation. So I was learning, and I was very favorable wherever I learned and traveling. And at one point I came to Bombay. I went there in order to try to get a renewal on my visa. So one day I was walking down the street in Bombay and I saw a big sign and it said Hare Krishna Festival. And under it said at Cross Maidan. So I asked someone, where is this Cross Maidan? And they told me where. So I went and there was big pandal and many devotees. And they told me that their Guru Maharaj was going to be speaking that night. So I stayed there and talked with devotees. I was reading Prabhupada's books during the day. And then Srila Prabhupada and all the devotees went on the stage. And there was thousands and thousands of people. There must have been 10, 15,000 people, maybe more. And I was a very insignificant sadhu. I had matted hair, begging pot, river-stained clothes. And I was way in the back of this massive crowd. And the devotees were chanting on stage, having kirtan. And Prabhupada was in the middle of the stage, sitting on a vyasasana. And one devotee, Guru Das, he came all the way through all the crowds. And he came to me. And he took me by the hand. And he said, Srila Prabhupada wants you to sit beside him. I said, how does Srila Prabhupada know me? And Guru Das didn't say anything. He just said, he wants you to sit beside him. So we went through all these thousands and thousands of people. And I came up on the stage and Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he smiled and he went like this, you sit here. So I came and I sat just a few feet away from his vyasasana. And there was a beautiful kirtan. I remember Madhuvista Swami was leading the kirtan. And all the devotees had clean shaved heads, beautiful clean dhotis and saris. And I had these river-stained sadhu clothes with holes in them and matted hair down practically to my waist. I was sadhu, at least trying to be. And I was just thinking, why has he called me here? I'm not a good image. How he appears with all of his devotees. But he smiled upon me very graciously and encouraged me.
Hare Krishna. Next, we move
My
on to
amazing
His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj for his memories of Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, his presence was so powerful that when you came in his presence, you didn't feel like you were part of the material world. You felt that you were in some kind of a spiritual, transcendental environment. I didn't know about Vrindavan then, but now we'd say that Prabhupada actually is bringing Vrindavan with him. And so you felt the mood of Vrindavan whenever he came with the presence of Prabhupada. He was actually carrying Krishna in his heart. So I didn't understand that, but I felt that just being with Srila Prabhupada. I could feel the change. I could see that he was a genuine spiritual master that was actually practicing what he was preaching, practicing what he was teaching. The other people that I visited, they had books, and they had teachings, but then they didn't practice those things. Where Prabhupada was. So at that, all these things helped to build up my faith, but then Prabhupada was very merciful. He immediately engaged me in service. He had me be an assistant to, at that time, his secretary was Govinda Dasi, think Gorsunda. Forget. Gorsunda, I'm not sure. I can't remember. And so when they would go shopping, we probably took the afternoon nap, and I would, they would have me like, they call it babysitter, guru sit. I had to sit outside just in case Prabhupada woke up and wanted something, then I would be on call. And usually he didn't want anything, but I would be there while they were out just at that time. So sometimes Prabhupada would wake up and he'd call me in, and he would ask me different things. He said he wanted to get a flower. This was he said that if I get a flower every day, this will improve my so increase my longevity. So he asked me, "Can you bring me a flower, a rose, especially a rose? It was a flower, one of the roses." And then I was very excited, hear the spiritual master asking me to bring him a rose every day. So I said yes. And I went back to the temple, and then told the temple president I was going to get a rose for Srila Prabhupada. The president said, "What are you doing? You're in Maya. You can't do that." So my Prabhupada told me to get him a rose. And I had phoned up, and he heard me phone up a florist and order, I was going to go pick up a rose. He got really angry that, I shouldn't do that. But I thought he was like imposing himself, that I'll do everything else you say, but this one thing, Prabhupada asked me to bring him a rose. I'm going to bring him the rose. He got very angry and said I couldn't do that, I should do something else. So I became a little angry because he was yelling at me. So anyway, I kind of just left the temple with the vibrations ringing in my ear, and I was walking off. And I got to like a dead end where the road didn't go any further. And nearby I saw there was a florist shop. And the whole time I was just, I wasn't able to think. I walked in the florist shop. I thought, well, I'll get a rose. And the person said, "Oh, here, I've been waiting for you. Here's a rose." Turned out it was the exact shop that I'd called. But I'd forgotten the address and everything. So then I went back and I saw Prabhupada and bowed down and I offered him the rose. He took it. Thank you very much. I remember one time he was giving a lecture, and he was the whole lecture saying how we have to be 10% Krishna conscious. We have to be completely surrendered to Krishna 100%. And he was just ramming that point home. At the end of the class, the devotees are kind of very serious and looking down, as if he could read their minds. That 100% who could come up to that standard. Then he looked at them, and now he kind of relaxed his mood a little bit, and he said, "Well, if you can be 90% Krishna conscious, then you can also go back to God." And then he started to slightly turn to prepare. There was a very big Vyasasana. He was very high up, maybe 4 feet in the air. It was so he had to go down steps to get down the Vyasasana. So he was just starting to turn. And then he said, even 80%, even if you're 80% surrendered, Krishna will still take you. So then he turned and he got down the Vyasasana, and he was walking away, and his chadar, his robe chadar was flowing with one hand, and then it was dragging on the ground. He kind of stopped at the devotees, looked at the devotees, and then he said, even if you're 70% Krishna conscious, still Krishna conscious. He took the chadar over his shoulder and walked off with his head very high in the air.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for being with us. So next we may move on to the main video, which is of Prabhupada. In this video, Srila Prabhupada is in Australia, and they have made a documentary out of it. It's an Avana video in which Prabhupada explains the science of Krishna consciousness as to what is Krishna consciousness, what is the science of God behind it. It's in the form of a documentary. So It's not just a lecture. It's with his whole trip to Australia, along with the lecture. And the end of the lecture, the conclusion, what is it? The science of God as to what is Krishna consciousness. So we'll begin with that without any further ado, since it's a little long video for half an hour.
I think you need to look into the sound part.
Let me try something.
Hallowed be thy name, my Lord, Krishna, personality of order. Let your holy name be glorified. This is our moment. It is not a sectarian, it is very scientific moment. Scientific moment because at the present moment we are all godless, forgot what is God and what to speak of his name. They do not believe in God and what to speak of his name, his place, his activities, his form, his quality. How we can know? There is no educational system about the science of God. This movement, Krishna consciousness movement, is teaching the science of God. God is absolute. Absolute means there is no difference. It's like in the relative world. This is relative world. Material world means relative world. Relative world means the sun. As soon as I say the sun, there must be a father. As soon as I say friend, there must be another man, friend. As soon as I say water, there must be something as water. But in the absolute world, the name water and the water is the same. This is called absolute. No different separation. So in the kingdom of God, the God is God and his son is also God. So by chanting Hare Krishna, you are directly in contact with God.
This is the meaning of Hare Krishna. We think we are enjoying, but we are suffering. Actually. And because we cannot understand what is suffering, suffering there is, sometimes we come to understand. But we are accepting this suffering as enjoy. A man is working very hard, whole day. This is not enjoyment. You have got a car, but you are running at 70 miles speed, going to your business, and there you are earning hundreds and thousands of dollars. So you are thinking that you are enjoying, but this labor is suffering to forget. And in order to forget this suffering, then I take to wine, take to this, take to that, to forget this suffering. So actually we are suffering, but we are accepting it as enjoying. This is called illusion. Anyone who is very much sensuous, very much attached to sense gratification, they are called demon. And those persons who do not indulge in sense gratification, but utilize this body or this life for God realization, Krishna realization, they are called gods. There are two classes of demon and God. Those who are engaged in God consciousness, they are not God but godly. And those who are not, because this human life is meant for this purpose, forgetting our Father, forgetting our God. We are criminal within this material world. Therefore, our only business is how to get out of this prison house and go back home, back to God. God is like you and me, a person. But He is Pacific Ocean, we are not.
Which is a scripture that we study. It says that Krishna did not want us to come to this material world. The question is, if Krishna did not want us to come, why are we here?
Yes, He forced Krishna to allow you to come. Just like sometimes a child forces the father. Father says, my dear son, do not do it. But he insists, Father, I must. All right, you go, let you do. That's all. And you suffer. What can be done? Because you are God, because you are son of God, God has got independence, full independence, almighty. Therefore, you have acquired the quality of your Father. You have got little independence. God does not interfere with your little independence. Beginning from Lord Brahma down to the worms in the stool, gradually, according to your work, according to your desire, you manufacture different types of body and enjoy some. India means senses. We cannot understand what is Krishna or God, his name, his form, his attributes, his pastime, we cannot understand by these blunt material sense. Then how it is to be understood? After all, this human life is meant for understanding God. That is the only business of human life. The nature, material nature gives us this opportunity to have this human form of life. The facility of this life, or this form of life, is given to us just to understand God. Other forms of life, cats and dogs, trees, and so many other things. There are 8,400,000 forms of life. So in other forms of life, it is not possible to understand what is God. If we call all the dogs of your country, come here, we shall talk about God. No, there's no possibility of understanding. But in the human form of life, there is possibility. Doesn't matter whether it is in India or America or Australia, any human being, if he tries and if he reads the scriptures, never mind Bible, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad, then he will understand God. The beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadasya Jata, absolute truth is that from whom everything has come into existence. Now, what is the nature of the absolute truth? Everything means there are two things, matter and spirit. Two things. Just like this table is matter. We, living entities, we are spirit, spirit soul. This material body is my covering, just like dress. Every one of us is dressed, covered by some kind of dress. Similarly, all living beings, they are dressed by the material cover. So we, the spirit soul, part and parcel of God, at the present moment, we are covered by two kinds of dress. Subtle dress, mind, intelligence, and ego, and the gross covering. Subtle means we know there is this thing, but we cannot see. Just like you know I have got mind, I know you have got mind, but I don't see your mind, you don't see mine. I know you have got intelligence, you know I have got intelligence, but we don't see what is that intelligence. Simply identification, I am this consciousness, that also you have got consciousness, I have got consciousness, but we don't see. So things which are not visible to this material eye, that is called subtle. And spirit soul is still subtle. So, human life is meant for understanding that spirit soul and the supreme soul.
In Krishna consciousness, the process is to get beyond the disease of material existence. Yes. The first part of his question, how to do this? Second part of his question, what is the end result after taking great process?
The process is to transfer yourself from material energy to spiritual energy. We are under energy. The God has got two energies, material energy and spiritual energy. We are also energy. We are marginal energy. So, marginal energy means we can remain under the material energy or on the spiritual energy, as we make our choice. Marginal, just like on the beach, you find sometimes on the border of the water is covering the land, and sometimes the land is open. This is called marginal position. Similarly, we are marginal energy of God, living entities. So, we can remain under the water, means material energy, or we can remain open on and spiritual. What is our view of Lord Jesus Christ? And Jesus Christ, Lord Jesus Christ, He's Son of God, the best Son of God. So we have all respect for Him. Okay.
Saint Francis, the founder of this particular order, found God in the material world. He used to address the aspects of the material world as brother and sister, brother tree, sister water, like that. What is your view upon this?
The real God consciousness. This is real God consciousness. Not that I am God conscious and I kill the animals. That is not God. To accept the trees, plants, lower animals, insignificant ants, and his brother. Samas sarveshu. So this is explained in Bhagavad. Brahma bhuta prasannatma nasojati natangati samas sarveshu bhutesu. Sama means equal. To all living entities. To see the spirit soul, anyone, it doesn't matter whether he is man or cat or dog or tree or ant or insect or big man. They are all parts and parcel of God. They are simply dressed people. One has got the dress of tree, one has got the dress of king, one has the insect. That is also explained in the Bhagavad. Pandita Samadarshana. One who is Pandit, learned, he and his equal. So, if St. Francis was thinking like that, that is higher standard of spiritual understanding.
turn back, Prabhupada? Sound means begin to roll. Action means action. Have that as the beginning of shooting. Boy who's pulling the cart in the red is making one documentary film all about your stay here in Australia. Then it will be distributed to the government. Actually, this is an independent film. Put into the library. People can get it for their schools, colleges.
To understand Krishna is very difficult job. Krishna has personally said in the Bhagavad Gita, Manusanam sahasreshu kachit jatati siddhai. Out of many, many millions of persons, not only at this age, in the past also, Manusanam sahasreshu, out of many billions of persons, kachit jatati siddhai, one is trying to become perfect. Generally, they have no knowledge what is perfection. Perfection they do not know. The perfection means to stop this process of birth, death, old age and disease. That is called perfection. Everyone is trying to be perfect, but they do not know what is perfect. Perfection means this, that when you are free from these four imperfections, what is that? Birth, death, old age and disease. Everyone, nobody wants to die, but there is forcefully, you must die. That is imperfect. But these rascals, they do not know. They think that we must die. But no. Because you are eternal. You are not meant for death. But nature is forcing it. Must die. Planets like lotus stars, lies are like lotus stars. The big lotus means so lotus is the comfort of the beauty of the different things or parts of the body, transcendental body. God is the supreme being, full with 6 kinds of opulences. Therefore, he attracts everyone. This is the definition of the word Krishna. This Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna, the perfect person. The pains and pleasure on account of this material body, we have to feel. But we come to the spiritual platform, that is understanding of the soul. Then, in any condition, we shall be happy.
Yes, sir. Do you consider your movements the major form of enlightenment emanating from the United States today? What order of priority is your movement in the White House Psychological Warfare Department? So, war demonstration again this year to try and put up and divert people away from taking up real political issues concerned with Australian. Stigma about everything coming from the United States. Well, that's your hang up, not mine. Our spiritual master, he came to the United States to start this Krishna consciousness movement because he got a free ticket on the boat. And because of the mercy of this one lady who gave the free ticket on the boat, he came to America on the orders of his spiritual master. This is the reason he came to America to start Krishna consciousness. If you had sent him a free ticket, he probably would have come to Australia first. He was a monk, a penniless monk in India, and he was trying to follow the orders of his spiritual teacher by spreading love of God. Some people would say that Krishna consciousness is too austere. What? Too austere. Yes. Should be taken in stages. What is that austere? You had started it? We say don't eat meat. Is it a very great austerity? That is the easiest. Give up. No illicit sex. Don't say no sex. Illicit sex. No, where is austerity? Devotees, they must rise early in the morning. Take cold bath. That is healthy. Because early to rise, early to bathe, early to rise makes man healthy and wise. That's bad. What to speak of early rise, practically I don't sleep at only 2 hours. And still I work in the early morning. But is it wrong? No, I don't suspect. Yes. Just wear a hat.
कंपनियां से गाड़ी आती है ना, कंपनी से गाड़ी आती है ना, ऐसा वाला लकड़ी वाला साइड का कटिंग करा के सीधा इसे
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. This ends the video over here of Prabhupada's introduction to Krishna consciousness, designs of God. The main purpose of this video, Prabhuji, actually was to share with everybody with Prabhupada being in action himself personally. So that was the main reason of sharing this video. And the audio quality, Prabhuji, actually over Zoom, it lags. In the computer, it was playing fine, but over Zoom, there is a little lag, especially when there is any music in the video, there's a lag at that time. Sorry about that.
Okay. Try to find out if there's any other app where you can play next time,
Sure, Prabhuji, no problem.
There must be some.
Yes.
Anyway, that's good. Thank you very much for organizing this. So we will go to the next part of the program, that is Aarti of the Divine Grace of Prabhupada by Arjun Juvan Prabhu. Prabhuji, you're ready, right?
Yes, Prabhuji, is ready.
Okay. And Bhaktavatsal Prabhu, आप कीर्तन करना, गुरु आरती और प्रभुपाद ना होते वो दोनों गाना. You can unmute Bhaktavatsal Prabhu.
हाँ, हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। अच्छा ठीक है प्रभु जी, तो पहला श्री गुरु चरण पद्म गाएंगे, उसके बाद प्रभुपाद जो यदि प्रभुपाद ना हो।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी,
ठीक है प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण।
Okay, Rajan beta, कर लेना दे. You can zoom on to your dad.
Pavani Mataji is there? Or Sadhari Guru?
Yes, Prabhu, she is there. प्रभु आप पहले आपका स्क्रीन शेयर स्टॉप करिए ना.
It's already stopped actually.
और
Okay, bro, I'm done.
Rajan, you please zoom into dad and keep yourself mute. Then Bhaktavatsal Prabhu start कर लेना. जैसा प्रभु start करेगा, आप कीर्तन start कर.
Okay प्रभु जी.
हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, we can begin, bro.
Yes, yes, please start.
आपको पिन करना पड़ेगा प्रभु जी. अर्जुन प्रभु.
Can you highlight, Prabhuji?
Actually, you are host. आपको co-host बनाना पड़ेगा हमको.
Okay.
You need to zoom in, I think, more.
और दिव्या प्रभु को कोस्ट बना दीजिए, नहीं तो दिव्या विश्वम्बर.
Okay.
Yep. Or yeah, correct.
Can we zoom in more? On Prabhu is very far. Okay, Bhaktavatsal Prabhu, आप start कर लें.
नीचे झुको.
जय ओम नित्य लीला विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिगृहाचार्य श्रीमद दीवान के सभी चरण भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की
जय
वैष्णवंद की
जय
श्री नमाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की
जय
सिख हो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद राधा कृष्ण गौर भक्त की श्री राधा गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, मायपुर नवदीप धाम की, गंगमाई यमुनामाई की, भक्ति देवी की, भक्तवृंद की, all glories to assembled devotees,
हरे
glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories and goes to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada,
जय श्रील प्रभुपाद
all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Gaur Siddhanath Premanande, Hari
हरि
थैंक यू ऑल, धन्यवाद सभी को प्रोग्राम में आप लोग आए। मैं देख रहा हूँ कि सभी लोग आ नहीं पाए, काफी लोग मिसिंग हैं, लेकिन जो भी आए धन्यवाद। और श्री प्रभुपाद की आपके ऊपर मर्सी रहे, ये मेरी प्रार्थना है। और उनकी प्रेरणा और उनकी किताबों से हमें जो मूल्य मिलेगा वो आपकी जीवन की धन्य की जो प्राप्ति है उसमें सहायता देगा आपको, और गुरु महाराज की सेवा में भी आपको और दृढ़ विश्वास देंगे। तो प्रभुपाद की किताबें जो है वितरण करना चाहिए, और किसी को जो आपका दोस्त है, रिलेटिव है, अगर कभी शादी में जाएगा, बर्थडे पार्टी में जाएगा, तो किताब जरूर देना चाहिए उनको, कभी ना कभी उनको उसकी फायदा हो जाएगा, भले वो उस टाइम में पढ़े नहीं, लेकिन कृष्ण की बात कभी ना कभी बहुत सारे ऐसे केसेस हुआ है, श्रील प्रभुपाद की किताब को बचाया हुआ है जिंदगी से। और रोज कहीं भी, मतलब कितने भी बिजी हो गए आप, लेकिन ऑफिस के ड्रॉ में या किधर भी आप जब भी काम करते हो, वहां पर 2 मिनट 10 मिनट जब भी आपको मिलेंगे तो खोल के 1-2 पर्पस जो है श्रील प्रभुपाद की पढ़ना चाहिए। तो श्रील प्रभुपाद की किताब पढ़ने से आपकी जो लाइफ की जो बेस है वो कभी भी स्टडी रहेगी, कभी भी हिलेंगे नहीं। लेकिन अगर आप किताब पढ़ना छोड़ देंगे तो पंक्चर वाली गाड़ी जैसी आपकी जिंदगी हो जाएगा, क्योंकि उसमें क्या होगा, चलेगा लेकिन पता नहीं चलेगा कौन सी डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है। तो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एवरीबॉडी सेज दैट वी मस्ट ऑलवेज कीप ऑन whatever experience you have become, whatever old you have become, whatever however you have become experienced in Krishna consciousness, maybe a senior, junior, doesn't matter, but Srila Prabhupada's books must be read every day. This is the instruction by given Guru Maharaj and any of the Prabhupada disciples who are, I know a few of Srila Prabhupada disciples who read first thing in the morning when they get up, before even drinking a glass of water, they read Prabhupada's purpose. So this is how we also follow. तो थैंक यू वेरी मच। अभी सभी लोगों को, सामदेश की वासियों को मेरी प्रार्थना है कि आप लोग संयम रहे, स्वस्थ रहे, और नरसिंहदेव से मेरी प्रार्थना है कि आप लोग जो भी आपकी मनोकामना है, शस्त्र वस्त्र जो भी आगे पढ़ाना चाहते हो बच्चों को, या आपकी जॉब में अगर आपको प्रेरणा चाहिए, जो भी है, तो मैं प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि उसकी नरसिंहदेव आपको रास्ता खुला रखे आपके लिए। Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank Sachi Mataji and Ramakrishna Prabhu for the children's classes that has been recently conducted. Classes were very nice. Today also the kitchen was very beautiful. Thank you Bhakta Prabhu and team. Pavani Mataji, बहुत अच्छा आप गाते हो. Arjun Prabhu, thank you very much for the Aarti. And Rajan Prabhu, thank you for coordinating today. And Ratish Prabhu and Divya Prabhu and Sadharanam Prabhu, supported by Sadharanam Prabhu doesn't say who is supporting him. Actually, it is Pavani Mataji. Thank you very much for the Zoom supports, and all the other devotees who, unfortunately, प्रसादम आप लोग बना नहीं पा रहे हो, तो मन में बना के आप ऑफर कर लेना एक दूसरे को, और भगवान को भोग लगा देना, तो ताकि जब हम लोग आएंगे मिलेंगे वापस, तो प्रैक्टिस नहीं चलना चाहिए आपका। हमारा शामदेश का बेस है प्रसादम, तो ये और स्ट्रांग बनाना चाहिए आपको। और धन्यवाद सभी, और हम फ्राइडे को मिलेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय।
कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
हरि हरि बोल।
थैंक यू। Sadarna Prabhu. you
Yes,
can-
yes, Prabhu. Yeah, Rajan Prabhu, you have to stop the recording.
Yes, we're done. Recording is stopped. Thank you.
Okay, and live stream be stop करना.